Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Dr. Makan Sekia's talk on foreign affairs. Today is the 42nd day of the Israel-Hamas War that started on 7th October, right? And in these 42 days of war, the international community has seen a very disturbing trend. It might so happen that this war could change the geopolitical equations of the Middle East as well as of the whole world. But then there are different interpretations and different expectations from the war. I am going to take you to 15 points through which we can clearly see the developments till date. you know let's start with the first one. First of all, what we have seen is that the centrality of the Palestinian issue has remained the same. After 42 days of war, the crux point of the war, of the conflict and the chaos is that it is nothing but the Palestinian issue. Finally, Palestinian issue has ruled the whole war. And the war started with the Palestinians, right? And now, even after, more than 7 decades, we have seen the war has remained with the Palestinian issue. And second very important point that I wanted to give it to you all is that for the first time, Israel's so-called sophisticated and really advanced security system has failed. And this has, in fact, come down to the conclusion that Israel is no more a kind of an anti-Iran alliance in the Middle East. In the days to come, years to come, very few in the Middle East will, look at Israel as a kind of the center point of anti-Iran, alliance in the Middle East. And next point, I'd like to bring it to your notice is that despite having all the, chaos, confusion, and misunderstanding in the Middle East has remained at the center because of its hydrocarbon resources. It is a source of energy for many nations, including India. So, the world had seen and depended on the resources of the Middle East. That has once again highlighted the whole thing. Next point I'd like to bring it to you is that, the hatred against the Zionist state, Israel, has once again brought all the Islamic Arab countries together. You have seen Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi has traveled to Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. What is happening? In a decades, this is the first visit of an Iranian president to Saudi Arabia. So these kind of, equations and readjustments are happening in Middle East. Why? Because the center point is Israel. Because of its hatred against Israel, towards Israel, all these countries have come together at Riyadh recently this month that we all have witnessed. Next point I would like to bring it to you is that, for the last so many decades, American-sponsored peace efforts have failed to resolve the Palestinian issue or the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians. US, in successive regimes in Washington, has completely failed till date to resolve this issue at all. Next point I'm going to bring it to you is that, despite there has been talk of multipolarity emerging in the Middle East, we all need to accept one very important aspect of the conflict is that, America has remained or America has been accepted as the sole guarantor of security in the Middle East. Why? Even in the recent Riyadh summit of Islamic Arab nations, what they have done, all the leaders, including MBS, right, Mohammed bin Salman, de facto leader of Saudi Arabia, supposed to be the superpower of Middle East, had urged America to put an end to the conflict between Israel and the Hamas. Why so? They could have urged China, they could have urged India, they could have urged Russia to put an end to the conflict. That means America has been recognized as the sole guarantor of security and peace in the Middle East once again. Next, another very important point I would like to highlight to all of you is that, because of its, hatred or because of its warmongering attitude, right, Israel might lose its support back home among its own people. And that is what has been happening to Netanyahu so far. Even I have told you in one of my videos that many people have come and, staged the dharna in front of Netanyahu's house. Why it is happening? Because the cost of the war is too much for the Israelis. If the war prolongs, no one knows what could happen. The national government of Israel, led by Netanyahu, might fall immediately. That is another one trend we have seen. Next point. Now, the global sympathy, move has shifted from Israel to the suffering civilians of Gaza now. Why? Because on 7 October, when Hamas attacked South Israel, the whole world, its sympathy and its concern had gone to the innocent Israelis, those whom had been taken as hostages by the Hamas militants. But after 42 days of war, what we have witnessed is that and felt across the world is that by looking at the huge rallies across the world, including in Germany, right, Britain, and many of the Western countries, the sympathy wave has now shifted towards the civilians of Gaza, not towards Israelis. Right. Next point. What we have seen is that, despite America's support towards Israel and sole protector of the Zionist state, America has been taking a safe distance from the violence and chaos created by Israel. So, quite often, America has been calling for two-state solution. And also, America has been, saying that there should be humanitarian pauses. American Foreign Secretary Antony, Blinken has been quite often calling for humanitarian pauses. See the, duplicacy of America's stand in the midst of this war. Another one very significant aspect of this 42 days of war is that Hamas, truly a militant group, and once again they have failed to attack, once again they have failed to counter Israeli defense forces. But it is true that initially they have launched a very successful attack on South Israel. But in the 42 days of war, what we have seen is that Hamas have gone nowhere, right? They could not achieve their goal, and they're literally, evading the whole chaos. Now civilians are suffering. So Hamas have once again failed to show its might against the powerful Israeli state, right? Another one single point, let me tell you, is that a military solution provided by Israel to the Gaza Strip or to the Palestinians is not going to sustain. It is going to be very, very costly. That is what we have seen so far. As I have told you, Israelis are suffering. It is not only Palestinians and Gaza citizens are suffering. Even Israeli military, Israeli civilians are suffering. So it is very clear that A military solution given by Israel is not going to sustain. It is never going to sustain. It seems very, very clear now. Now, next is that, you know, if this conflict prolongs, if it goes on and on, it could draw Iran to the orbit of the war. That could be very, very dangerous. Because Iran is the sponsor of the Hamas, Iran is the sponsor of the Hezbollahs. So Iran is just waiting for a chance. So it could so happen, if the war continues, Iran will get down to the war. Next, and very important point is that, finally let me tell you, what can affect India? First of all, the rising oil prices. Second, what could affect? If the war prolongs, as I said, that Iran could get involved into the war, then 9 million Indian diaspora that is working and sending foreign remittances to this country will suffer. And at the moment, India's diplomacy is running a tightrope. It's very difficult for India to maintain and balance its relationship with the US and Israel on one side and its friends forever in the Middle East. So, these are 15 points and highlights that I have given to you all. Let's wait and watch. But the kind of devastation that we all have witnessed in Gaza is very tragic for now and for future as well. Hope this war ends very soon and we find a solution immediately. And as America has been continuously reiterating its stand for a two-state solution, we also do reiterate our support for a two-state solution. That is going to bring lasting peace to the Israelis and to the Palestinians as well. But both sides have to make their own compromises to, agree to a two-state solutions. So friends, let me stop here and I'll again bring it to you the latest developments on this war that is almost shaking the whole world by now. Thank you so much for watching me, and I will again be bringing it to some more current events to all of you. And I wish that you subscribe my channel and share it with your friends and relatives and well-wishers. Thank you and bye-bye.